The lights were bright, the cameras rolling, and the crowd's laughter echoed across the studio. It was supposed to be just another cheerful recording, smiles, jokes, and easy chemistry between cast members. Middle of that laughter, something shifted. Yoona's smile faltered for a second. The tone in the room changed. Before anyone could process what was happening, Chamin's expression hardened, his jaw clenched, eyes sharp. Silent but furious. Everyone froze. Even the director lowered his hand, unsure whether to cut the scene. What happened next was completely unscripted, raw, real, and powerful enough to make the entire set go silent. Because in that moment, Chamin couldn't stay silent anymore. What he did next not only stunned everyone there, it would spark a nationwide debate, forcing fans and the media to ask, what really happened to Yoona that day? The incident began on what should have been a bright, ordinary day of filming. Cameras lined the studio walls. Staff hustled between light rigs and soundboards. And Yoona, radiant as always, stood under the spotlight rehearsing her scene. It was the third take of the afternoon. A segment meant to be light-hearted and fun. Chamin, her co-star, waited off to the side with a patient smile, watching as she laughed with another actor. It seemed normal. But those who were there later said the energy felt wrong from the start. The tension built slowly. The male guest beside Yoona leaned in a little too close, brushing a strand of her hair while joking about her perfect idol image. Laughter from the crew filled the air. Yoona's eyes flickered with discomfort. She stepped back, forcing a polite smile. The cameras kept rolling. The director didn't call cut. Someone in the control room even whispered, "This is good TV." Chamin's expression changed immediately. The warmth disappeared from his face, replaced by a sharp stillness that unsettled everyone around him. He took one step forward, then another. Eyes locked on the man beside Yoona. The laughter in the room faltered. Even Yoona looked startled when she saw him approach. "What are you doing?" Chamin's voice was low, but every microphone picked it up. The entire set went silent. The man tried to laugh it off. "Relax, it's just a joke." Chamin cut him off. "You don't joke like that." His words landed like a hammer. The director signaled for a cut, but the cameras were still recording. One of the producers rushed forward, whispering for Chamin to calm down, that this would ruin the atmosphere. He didn't move. His eyes stayed on Yoona, as if checking whether she was truly fine. She looked away, embarrassed, her hands trembling slightly at her sides. "I said, stop it," Chamin repeated, louder this time. Someone finally turned off the main lights. Sudden dimness broke the tension. But the damage was already done. The incident lasted barely 30 seconds. Yet by the time filming wrapped, whispers had already spread through every corner of the studio. Within hours, snippets of the raw footage began circulating through private message chains among production staff. By evening, one clip leaked online, only 22 seconds long, shaky, taken from a phone. It showed Chamin stepping forward, his voice echoing through the set. "You don't joke like that." It ended right there, leaving the rest to imagination. The internet exploded. Some praised him instantly. Finally, someone stood up for Yoona. Others accused him of overreacting. He ruined the show's flow. But what no one could deny was the look on Yoona's face, that split second of discomfort, caught in perfect clarity before the scene cut. By the next morning, headlines had flooded every portal site. Chamin's on-set outburst, protective or reckless. Yoona's awkward moment goes viral. Netizens divide over Chamin's reaction. Public opinion fractured into chaos. Fans defended him passionately, while others demanded the network release the full video. The station's PR team issued a statement calling it a misunderstanding during filming. But insiders knew there was more to the story. A staff member, speaking anonymously, told reporters that it wasn't the first time the guest actor had crossed boundaries. There had been earlier complaints, subtle remarks, unwanted touches, but nothing ever made it to management. Everyone knew, the source said. No one wanted to speak up because it could kill the show. That night, a journalist from Seoul Daily published an investigative piece revealing that the same guest had been warned on previous programs for similar behavior. The article included blurred screenshots from staff chat logs discussing his antics. The story trended at #1 for 48 hours. Yoona remained silent. Her agency declined interviews, issuing only one line, "Yoona wishes for privacy and understanding." But silence only fueled speculation. Some netizens claimed she was being pressured to stay quiet. Others said she was protecting the production team from backlash. Meanwhile, Chamin disappeared from public view. Scheduled appearances were suddenly postponed. His social media went inactive. Rumors spread that he had been reprimanded by the network for unprofessional conduct. But then, 3 days later, an unexpected video appeared on his official channel. He sat alone in a dimly lit room, wearing a plain black sweater. No makeup. No stylist, no script. He began speaking softly. "I didn't plan to say anything," he said. Eyes fixed on the camera. "I can't let people twist what happened." He explained that he had watched Yoona endure subtle disrespect throughout the day, comments disguised as jokes, repeated invasions of space. "I smiled because that's what we're all told to do," he said. "We smile even when it hurts. Because the show must go on." He paused, taking a deep breath. "I couldn't keep smiling." Within minutes, the video amassed millions of views. The comments section flooded with messages of support and anger. "Thank you for speaking up. This happens too often. Protect your colleagues." Yet others accused him of seeking attention, claiming he was using the incident to polish his image. The studio finally broke its silence the next day, releasing a carefully edited version of the footage. It only made things worse. The edit blurred the guest actor's face and cut out the exact moment that had triggered Chamin's reaction. The manipulation was obvious, and netizens erupted again. "They're covering it up." One top comment read, "Where's the uncut version?" Days later, a new clip leaked, this time from an anonymous account claiming to be a crew member. It showed the missing few seconds, the guest's hand reaching toward Yoona's shoulder. His words audible, "Don't be shy." Fan service, Yoona flinched. That was when Chamin stepped forward. Internet imploded. Hashtags like Respect Yoona and Stand with Chae-min trended for days. Major brands paused their contracts with a guest actor. The network issued an apology, admitting that the editing process did not reflect the full truth. Yoona finally broke her silence with a short handwritten letter posted on her official fan cafe. "Thank you to everyone who showed concern," she wrote. "I was surprised, but I'm okay now. Please don't attack anyone. I just hope this makes people think about how easily boundaries are crossed in our industry." It was calm, gracious, but it didn't satisfy anyone. People wanted justice, not politeness. A week later, new evidence surfaced. A journalist uncovered internal emails from the show's producers discussing how to control the narrative. One line stood out, "If Chamin reacts again, cut to commercial." The revelation sent shockwaves across entertainment circles. The network scrambled to contain the fallout. Anonymous employees leaked even more, confirming that both Chamin and Yoona had privately complained about inappropriate behavior long before the incident. Nothing had been done. Suddenly, the story was no longer about one moment, it was about an entire system built on silence. Talk shows, radio programs, news outlets debated whether celebrity decorum was being used as a shield for exploitation. "It's not just one man," an industry insider said. "It's a culture of pretending nothing happened. As long as the camera keeps rolling." Public sentiment shifted sharply. Where once people argued about Chamin's tone, they now praised his courage. Editorials called him the rare voice who refused to play along. Fans organized online petitions demanding new workplace protections for performers. The Ministry of Culture announced a formal review of entertainment labor policies. But the backlash had consequences. The guest actor vanished from television. Producers who worked on the show were quietly reassigned. And Yoona, though outwardly composed, was reported to have taken an indefinite break from filming. As for Chamin, he returned to the public eye with measured calm. In his next interview, whether he regretted what happened, he answered simply, "No." Sometimes silence is betrayal. The interviewer pressed further, "Do you think the industry will change?" He smiled faintly. "Only if people keep watching. Not just the show, but the truth behind it." His words went viral instantly. Students printed them on posters. Activists quoted them in speeches. For a brief moment, like the entire nation was united around a single message, that decency was not negotiable, even under bright lights. Beneath the applause, something darker brewed. Rumors circulated that higher-ups at the network were furious about his growing influence. There were whispers that contracts were being reviewed, that he might quietly be blacklisted. Journalists began receiving anonymous tips claiming the confrontation had been staged for publicity, trying to discredit him. Then, without warning, a new leak hit the internet, an internal video file labeled behind the set. It appeared to show a different angle of the incident, one that raised even more questions than answers. That was when everything changed. The leaked file spread faster than anyone could contain it. It wasn't posted to one site, it appeared everywhere at once: forums, encrypted chats, overseas mirrors. Behind the set, MP4 inches was only 3 minutes long. Those minutes changed everything. The footage opened with a wide camera angle from above the studio, one never shown to the public. It captured the exact moment the guest actor reached toward Yoona. This time, no sound was muted. Words were clear. His laughter sharp. His face froze. Her eyes darted toward the director for help. None came. Then Chae-min entered the frame, stepping forward with a calmness that looked almost rehearsed until you noticed his hands trembling. He didn't shout. He simply said, "Touch her again." Then came something no one had ever seen, the guest's smirk turning into a sneer. "You think you're some hero," he said quietly. "Regret this." That line, cut from every broadcast, echoed through the internet like an electric shock. The video ended abruptly, a timestamp that proved the network had edited over 20 seconds of the confrontation. By morning, the file had been viewed millions of times. The network issued emergency statements denying manipulation. But data experts confirmed the footage's authenticity. Hashtags flooded the web again: "Behind the set, Justice for Yoona," "Chamin Truth." Sponsors withdrew. Legal teams formed. And public outrage became impossible to silence. Noon that day, Yoona broke her silence once more. Standing outside her agency's building, surrounded by reporters, she spoke briefly but clearly: "What everyone saw is real. I stayed silent because I was afraid no one would believe me." He did. She turned to the cameras. "Please stop attacking others. The point isn't hate. It's respect." Then she bowed deeply, tears streaking her cheeks. A few hours later, Chae-min appeared on live television, dressed simply, his face pale but steady. He began without a script. "I never wanted this to become a war," he said. "But if standing up makes me the enemy, then I'll accept that." He paused, looking straight into the lens. "Yoona deserved better. Everyone does." It wasn't anger this time. It was exhaustion, the voice of someone who had seen too much of how power really works behind the cameras. When the anchor asked you if he feared being blacklisted, he smiled faintly. "Maybe I already am." Next day, the guest actor issued a public apology. Behavior that caused discomfort, though many called it hollow. A criminal investigation soon opened, dragging senior producers and network executives into questioning. For the first time, consequences followed. Weeks passed, and the noise began to settle. Yoona quietly returned to work, stronger than ever. Her interviews combatant. "I'm learning to breathe again," she said in one appearance. Chae-min, however, stepped back from the spotlight. He donated his unpaid contracts to a foundation supporting entertainment workers who experienced harassment. Rare interviews. He refused to discuss the scandal. "It wasn't about me," he said simply. Still, the public didn't forget. Every year on the anniversary of that day, fans reposted the clip of him standing between Yoona and the man who crossed a line. It became a symbol, not of rage, but of courage in the face of silence. Months later, at an awards ceremony, Yoona was called to the stage to present a humanitarian recognition. She hesitated before speaking. "Someone who taught me what dignity means," she said, voice soft but unwavering. "He reminded me that staying quiet helps no one." She lifted her gaze toward the audience. Tears flashed. For a moment, their eyes met. Chae-min, quietly near the back, giving her the smallest nod. The crowd rose in applause that seemed to last forever. When the lights dimmed, headlines that once screamed scandal now read something else. "Respect is louder than silence." And that was how the story ended, not with controversy, but with clarity. A reminder to everyone watching that even in a world built on image and illusion, one honest moment can break through the noise and make the truth impossible to ignore. In the end, the chaos faded, but the message remained. What began as one uncomfortable moment on a brightly lit set became a mirror reflecting everything the entertainment world had tried to hide: the pressure, the silence, The quiet acceptance of wrong. Chamin never set out to be a hero. And Yoona never asked to be a symbol. Yet together, script or a director, they rewrote what it means to stand for something real. Their story became more than headlines. It became a reminder that respect is not optional. And that courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it simply steps forward and says, stop. Who watched? Who felt the sting of injustice through a screen? That moment will never fade. Years may pass, but whenever someone replays that clip, the look in his eyes, the tremor in her voice, they will remember the truth. Silence protects no one, but he saves us all. This story is dedicated to everyone who chooses decency over comfort, voice over silence. To the artists, crew members, scene people who keep the cameras rolling while fighting unseen battles, your courage matters. And to the readers who followed this story until its final line, thank you for listening, for feeling, and for remembering that behind every scene, there is a human being. Because sometimes, the most powerful performance is simply telling the truth.